Okay, so let's talk about how to put your triptych together. This is one that I've already completed, and it's based on the tarot template that I have for you in the classroom. So you can see there are 3 panels. These side panels fold in, and this is what I'm going to show you how to make. I'm just really going to go through my steps. You can always substitute different materials if you think that they will work well for this. I will tell you that for the base, I use watercolor paper, and I'm using just a very long piece of watercolor paper. I'm actually using this, which is 11 by 15, and you can also see it's 140-pound paper. Now you can also use a smaller size, something that's 8.5 by 11, and then you would just need to make 2 pieces essentially. You would need to make this centerpiece, and then you would need to cut out the other 2 pieces from a second piece of watercolor paper. And with those, I usually just use some tape to tape the sides on. I've also used washi tape just to kind of get a good placement and make sure that it folds in well. And then you can always glue the washi tape on or glue some other tape on so that you still have these flexible sides. What I'm going to show you though is how to make this with one large piece of watercolor paper. So what you want is 1 piece of watercolor paper. You're going to need a pencil. You're going to need to print out your tarot template if that's what you want to do. I do have another template for you as well. And also you can just draw directly onto the watercolor paper or print out some other design that you want. So you're going to want to print out whatever that design is. I actually print these out on cardstock. So I have watercolor paper, and then I print my design out on cardstock and put them together, and it creates a really solid base that stands up very, very easily. You can also just print this out on paper and do the same thing. So it's really up to you in terms of the materials that you use. The other thing that you're going to need is what I'm calling the main template, and that gives you this shape for this center panel. So I've just printed mine out on regular copy paper. Don't print it out on anything heavy, because with regular copy paper you can just fold it in half, because that's what you want. You want to be able to fold it in half. Once you fold it in half, now you've got a template for these sides as well. Okay, so you have your main template, you have printed and cut out your tarot template. And one thing to keep in mind when you print out your tarot template, or I think I have a sabbat in there too. It's just another background that you can use. For these side panels, when you're printing those out, you'll see them both together. And you will see a line at the top and the bottom of the page. I did that so that you'll have a cutting place. So what you should do is cut this first from top to bottom. That will split these 2 panels into 2 pieces, and then you want to cut out the rest of the panel so that you have these 2 separate pieces. I hope that makes sense. But you'll see, I'm just letting you know that's what these lines are for. Okay. So once you have all of your pieces cut out, we're going to start with and I'm talking about for the template pieces, I'm going to just show you how I cut out the main watercolor paper. So I take my main template and fold it in half, and then I take the edge of the watercolor paper, and I just place it up against the edge, and I use my pencil to just trace out that edge. Okay, so you can see I've already done that. Oops. You can see I've done that with the edge here, and I've just traced it out. Now I'm going to give you kind of two instructions if you have a scoreboard versus if you do not have a scoreboard. This is a scoreboard. It makes lines so that you can fold your papers. So first I'm going to talk about if you don't have a scoreboard. What I suggest that you do is go ahead and draw out everything. And so now open up your main template, and you're going to trace that out as well. Just be sure to leave some room between the two sections, because this is the area that's going to be folded. And since this is 140-pound watercolor paper, it's not going to be a smooth crease. It's going to be a little bit of a thicker fold. So you just want to have enough room here so that you can fold that. So just give yourself a little bit of space. I'm just going to see if I can bring it up so you can see about how much space I have. So it's not a lot of space. It's just a little bit of space, but just think about that. After you've done your center panel, fold it in half again, and you're going to do the other side panel. And again, just do the outline of that panel. So you should have something that looks like this. Now, what's important to note is that you're not going to cut all the way down into these sections. You're really just going to cut this outside portion and then these curves. Okay? If you have a scoreboard, what I typically do with the scoreboard is after I've made my first section, I go ahead and score. Let me just show you what I do. This is if you have a scoreboard. I take my scoring tool, I line it up so I can see where my line is, and I just put a score line that is as close as possible to that line that I've just drawn. Now, you don't have to score all the way up here. We only want to score on the straight line. You see that these lines start to curve, right? So we only need to score on the straight part of that line, not on the curved edge, because we're going to cut out this part. The only part that's really going to be folded is that straight line. So once you do the second part, you can do the same thing with this and go ahead and score it. So I actually score it before I cut it with this case. But if you don't have a scoreboard, go ahead and cut everything out first before you do any scoring. So if you don't have a scoreboard, draw all of your lines and then cut it out. So you should have something that looks like this. You can see the lines that I've drawn on this one. Typically what I do is I draw the lines on one side and I actually use the other side. I flip it over. But it is completely up to you. One of the things that you may find, I I use these little scissors to get into small corners. What you may find is it's very difficult to cut into this corner. So one thing that you can do is once you have it cut out, if you look here, see if I can focus it a little bit, you can still see that line, my guideline, and I'm just going to cut right on that corner, just follow it, and follow the corner. It doesn't have to be super perfect, but basically I just trimmed off that edge, and what you'll notice is when you open it up, it gives you a sharper corner there. Okay, so that's just one way. I did a little better job on that one. But that's just one way instead of having to cut into that really tight corner. So once you have everything, the shape cut out, again, like I said, I usually flip it over. If you do not have a scoreboard, then you really want to do some sort of scoring, and I'm going to show you how you can do it with a ruler. So basically with the ruler, you're just going to put your ruler in that space where that fold is going to be, and you just want to really like push the ruler up against that line and push it as hard as you can up against the paper. Because remember, watercolor paper is kind of thick, so you're going to really get a good handle on that. Lift it up, and that should give you a nice crease in your paper. Again, scoreboards are really helpful. I just got mine, and I feel like, where has it been all my life? It's just so much easier to do things like this. So again, do the same thing for the other side. You're just going to put the ruler right into that space. It should be really the space between the two lines that you've drawn. You can do this on the other side. And then just crease it really well. Okay, so that you have a crease. And you can, again, you can do that crease on this side where you have the lines drawn, and then just turn it over and fold it in on this side as well. And I don't have any instructions for the back of these, but you can always paint them or put more designs on the back as well, and use them front and back if you want. So once you have this, the only thing you have to do left is just to glue or secure your tarot template onto these panels. I've been finding that double-sided tape works really well, and I like using double-sided tape or something that's like a runner tape. And I just put all that double-sided tape here and then put it down. I've also used glue stick as well, but I do like the double-sided tape a little bit better. If you have the cardstock, you could also probably use a wet glue as well. So you may want to experiment with that, or just use whatever adhesive you're most comfortable with. Once you have secured them down, you're all set, and it should stand up really easily. So again, I've used watercolor paper for the base. I've used cardstock that I printed these out on, and then secured them together with double-sided tape. And again, what I find, once you get that nice crease in there, it stands up very easily, and it's very sturdy. I haven't had these just fall over or fall down or anything like that. So I hope that you enjoy making this triptych. And as I said, this design is available for you in the classroom. I also have another design available for you in the classroom, but you can always take your blank watercolor and add your own collage, or add your own drawings or doodles and make your own version of this altar triptych.